Charlie, go ahead and say, hey, you are on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Instagram Live today with our topic being greenwashing, which is really not a new topic. The advertising industry, the development of Madison Avenue, there's always been a deceptive element in advertising in order to get more sales. And it becomes especially important in dealing with plastic because plastic is so ubiquitous, it's so everywhere, it's so much a part of our lives. It truly is the age of plastic. If the age is defined by the material that the citizens of that age use most and come most in contact with, it certainly is the age of plastic, because that's the material that we come in contact with every day and that we use the most in our lives. And in order to get us to purchase plastic and accept the fact that we're in the plastic age, its dark side needs to be minimized. It has to be, in a sense, greenwashed through false advertising about its characteristics, about its recyclability, about its health effects. All the little negatives have to be put into the background, and accentuating the positive becomes the role of the greenwasher, who in general is the advertising firm that is promoting the product. Every product has problems, but in the context of getting your product to sell to the maximum number of people, getting the most profit out of your product, you need to really get the public to believe it is a miracle product, that it's a wonder product, that it has excellent qualities, that it's truly fills a need. And greenwashing attempts to get you to believe that plastic is filling a need that is there. But what we dig below the surface and find is that there are such things as false needs, that we're being kind of mentally engineered to have needs that we never had before. And those needs, in many cases, can be labeled false needs. And so greenwashing is a way to inculcate false needs into our desires, into our psyche, and then get us to minimize the downside or the unintended consequences of those purchases and of using those products. So that's what we want to talk about today, is the little kind of dark side of plastics, the dark side of products that are greenwashed and that are the very powerful, very well-funded advertising industry uses to promote sales. So I think we'll go ahead and look at some of the ways that plastics fit into this scenario. And I don't know, Jennifer, are you going to be asking questions, or do you want to just go on a monologue?
Yeah, so I'll ask you a few questions if you want to answer those, and then if you have anything you would like to monologue about, we will do that. And we also want to leave plenty of time at the end for people to ask questions as well. If they have any, feel free to leave them in the chat. So the first thing I'd like to know is, how is it that these companies can get away with greenwashing?
Well, in order to have standards of truthfulness in advertising, those standards have to be enforceable. And truly, just about the only enforceable standard in advertising is the weight of the product has to be listed. If you're buying a consumable, you have to know how many ounces or how many grams of that product or how many pounds is in that you're purchasing. That's an enforceable standard. You can't lie about the quantity that's in your package. But just about everything else is subject to debate. You know, when you say, and the other aspect that you can't claim that it has a particular health benefit unless it's been studied, and unless that particular health benefit has been proven and accepted by the medical community, you're not able to list a cure for any disease or a particular health benefit unless it has some kind of medical justification. But that's about the only enforceable standards there are. All the other stuff, like whether it's recyclable, whether it's biodegradable, whether it has no harmful chemical additives, those kind of claims are not readily enforced. And also, we have to understand that the formulas that are used to make a lot of these products are considered proprietary information by the company. The company doesn't want its competitors to be able to make the things it's making. It wants to be able to say, even if it's not true, that their product is unique, it's the best. Even though when you go into the supermarket and you see a shelf full of 50 different kinds of shampoo, each one of those shampoos is going to claim that it's unique, it's special, it has special benefits, and if you buy that product, you're going to get those benefits that you wouldn't get with the other product. So in order to distinguish itself, greenwashing helps immeasurably, because it allows a company to claim all kinds of fanciful distinctions between its products and those of other companies in order to increase its sales.
So what are some examples of greenwashing?
Well, greenwashing occurs in plastic when they claim that it's recyclable. For instance, there are programs to recycle plastic bottles, but in order to get those programs to work, there has to be an infrastructure that takes back those bottles. There has to be bottle deposits so that people have an incentive to give those bottles back and receive money for returning those bottles. And there's only a few, really way less than half of these states in the United States have the incentive of a deposit on the bottle so that people will get money when they bring that bottle back. So an example of greenwashing would be the current commercials that you see so much of, with all the beverage companies smiling and having young people saying, every bottle back. We've made bottles that can be recycled. We want them recycled. And our goal is to get every bottle back. What they don't tell you is that they have made it so difficult to return those bottles. Here in the state of California, many of the places that accepted those bottles have closed down and are no longer open for people to return those bottles. And we do have even though we have a deposit scheme and that the money is there, if you take your bottle back, you're going to get at least a nickel back for bringing that bottle in. You may have to travel so far to take that bottle in and get that nickel that you pay for that money and your fuel to get to where you're going to recycle that bottle. So the idea that we're going to get every bottle back, that it's possible to recycle, that's greenwashing. It's greenwashing to say that something is possible when in reality it's impossible. We just don't see it happening in reality, and it's set up as this kind of idealistic possible goal when the reality is much less optimistic.
So what are some ways that businesses can actually be more sustainable when it comes to plastic use?
Well, this is so tough of a question to answer because the bottom line for a business is profitability. No matter what business it is, even a nonprofit like us, if we don't get your donations today, if you don't help us match our major funders' demand that we match the funds that they're giving us, we will be cut off from our source of funds. And that we're a nonprofit, but we have to keep our head above water. We have to bring in more than we pay out in our salaries and in our instruments and in our research activities. So a for-profit company not only has to make their expenses, but they have to return a profit to their investors. And so it's very difficult for a company to say, well, I'm going to make less plastic, because if you survey the nonprofit community, the community of plastic pollution activists that are really out there trying to make a difference in the enormity of the plastic pollution problem, practically all of them are saying the true answer is make less plastic. Well, that is no answer for any plastic manufacturing company. There is no plastic manufacturing company for whom the answer is make less plastic. That will never answer their need for profitability. So in order to achieve circularity, in order to achieve a circular economy, we have to have a pullback. We have to have a change in the economic model from rapid, infinite growth, quick return on investment. The ROI, return on investment, is the goal of any company, no matter how green. And yet making more plastic is causing the problem. The return on their investment is returned to them by the sales of more of their product. So a circular economy has an implied negative when it comes to our economic model, which is slower growth. In order to get circularity, we're going to have slower growth. And in order to have slower growth, the movements that are out there, like the slow food movement, the steady state economic model, there's a movement of folks that are envisioning how a steady state economy would work. Those models have to be taken seriously. And they won't be by Wall Street. They never will be by Wall Street. Wall Street will never accept a steady state model, because their model is totally based on growth. No matter what politician is trying to get elected, they're always going to be part of their platform that they're going to grow, quote unquote, the economy. I will grow the economy. My opponent is not growing the economy fast enough. I will grow the economy faster. This is the mantra of the politician of today. And in order to do that, in order to grow the economy, in order to get elected, in order to put people to work, in order to have this economy, this growth economy be a success, it has to pollute. It has to pollute. It has to greenwash. And so my message to all of you who are taking the time to listen today is kind of a sad one. It's kind of a negative one. It's kind of an anti-establishment one. And yet, we've seen in history that no system is eternal. This system that is polluting the planet, that's causing climate change and plastic pollution, will not be an eternal system. It will change. And it's with those of you that have taken the time to listen today, you're going to be demanding produce not wrapped in plastic. You're going to shop local. You're going to be demanding products that are not greenwashed, that tell the truth, that have an infrastructure already in place so that you know they're going back. Here in the front of the office where I am right now is the Bring Your Own store, where you bring your bottle back, you get it refilled with your soap, you get it refilled with your tea, you get it refilled with your salt and sugar. So that model is just beginning to take off. There's the unpackaged store where everything is out and you don't have to package it. You carry it home in a basket or your own reusable bag. This model is not a model for infinite profitability. It's a model for the circular economy. Composting, extended producer responsibility, all these things are part of that model. And I hope that's the message you take with you today, that change in the system is not impossible, but the system itself will not make the change.
Thank you so much. It's a super fascinating topic. I do want to do a quick thank you to those who donated. So many thanks for you that did that. I think we've got 2 here. I see one from Shelly, so thank you so much, Shelly. And then Frankie as well. Thank you so much for supporting us tonight, and especially everybody who's listening. We really appreciate you coming out to watch this talk. We do have a couple comments that I want to address, and then we will end by talking a little bit about some really good bills that we actually have going on in California right now that give us a little bit of hope in terms of recycling. So from Frankie, I see, can you talk about the compostable utensils, that's compostable in quotes, that require industrial machines? Are there actually any of these sites in SoCal? Are they accessible? And a lot of people don't kind of understand what the difference is between compostable, biodegradable, and just a regular plastic utensil.
Well, I not only started Algalita Marine Research and Education and the Moore Institute for Plastic Pollution Research, I also started Long Beach Organic, which focuses on organic community gardens and composting. And what you need to understand is the fungus, bacteria, and insects, what we call the FBI, that are at work in your compost pile, they will work in a home compost pile if it is a cubic meter in volume. You need that mass of organic material with a carbon to nitrogen ratio of about 25 to 1. If you imagine what that looks like, it would be half leaves and half grass clippings. Grass clippings have a lot of nitrogen. Leaves are mostly carbon. The point being, your food scraps, your green waste, that mixed together creates a medium for the FBI, the fungus, bacteria, and insects, to go to work. When they go to work, they heat up. They get the center of that compost pile up to about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that's no different than an industrial compost. It's not a machine that makes the compost hot and makes it degrade compostable utensils. It's the biological activity in a compost pile that makes it hot and makes it degrade compostable materials. Now, I have a big birthday party. Before COVID, I would have 100 of people over, and we'd party late and create utensils were donated, and I would put them in the compost pile. And I found that they didn't compost, even in my thermophilic, which is this high temperature compost. So in a thermophilic compost, these things should degrade. But because of false advertising, a lot of companies are selling things saying they're biodegradable when they're not truly biodegradable. And we don't have enforceable standards for that. Therefore, there's greenwashing. But don't be worried. If you have a compost pile and it's a cubic meter in volume and you keep it moist, it will get up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and if the thing is truly compostable that's in there, if it's in the middle of your pile, it's going to compost in your backyard or an industrial facility. There's no magic machine that an industrial compost facility has. It's just they can turn them more often. It's not as much physical labor to turn it, and by turning, you get the outside to go to the inside, and you get those high temperatures to work on the stuff that you want to break down.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that comment and that question from Frankie. Also want to take a moment to give huge thanks to Zero Waste Chef, who did help us with donations as well. So thank you for Zero Waste Chef, Shelly, and Frankie for your donations tonight. We really, really appreciate it. Just to kind of end the live stream on a positive note, Charlie, what are some bills that are going through right now that are kind of concerning recycling, things that maybe we can look forward to?
Well, two bills that I want to focus on. One is that unless there is truly a recyclable infrastructure in the area where the product is sold, you can't put that chasing arrow symbol on the bottom of your product. We've been fighting that for a long time. The industry fought to get the chasing arrow symbol on there, even for products they knew were not recyclable. All that chasing arrow symbol was a kind of a frame where the number of the type of plastic that it was would go inside that frame. So you have this chasing arrow symbol, and inside it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Well, it's actually only 1, 2, and 5 now that are having an infrastructure that can actually take them back and reuse and recycle them. So the second bill I want to talk about is how in California we're not going to let companies say that they're recycling plastic if they ship it abroad, if it's not number 1, number 2, or number 5. That's polyethylene terephthalate PET, which is actually Dacron polyester used in clothing and making new plastic bottles. Number 2, high-density polyethylene, your soap bottles, a lot of your hard plastic products, or high-density polyethylene. And number 5, polypropylene, which are your bottle caps, and a lot of your cosmetic containers are polypropylene. Those, if you ship and sort and have just those in your container and you're sending it over to Thailand or Vietnam, that's compostable. That's recyclable, and that's allowable. But we're not going to allow you now to take numbers, 3, 4, 6, and 7. 7 means anything that's not of the first 6 numbers, which is just a catch-all for the thousands of different kinds of plastic. Those things are not going to be allowed to be claimed as recyclable if you're shipping those out of state.
Awesome. So if you're interested in looking further into those bills, the first one he talked about was called the Truth in Recycling Bill, and that second one is called Plastic Waste Exports Bill. So feel free to look those up, kind of research into those, so that you can stay updated with what's going on in California with our recycling laws. So thank you so much to everyone who joined our live stream tonight. Thank you again for our very generous donations that we got. If anyone has any more questions, you are welcome to contact us on social media, and we will try to get back to you. And thank you so much again for your support.
I want to introduce Narnar to everybody.
Go ahead and tell us who Narnar is.
This is the Gnarly Beach Cleaners mascot. Michael Doshi is the Director of Partnerships for our sister organization, Algalita Marine Research and Education. Developed Narnar to take around the world and get people stoked on plastic pollution reduction. And it's been all over the world, helping people from Malaysia to Australia to Canada be part of the solution to plastic pollution. So he's my buddy. He's Michael Doshi's mascot. Michael Doshi is the Gnarly Beach Cleaner, and this is his mascot, Narnar. So yeah, he's been sitting beside me here to get you guys stoked to become partners in plastic pollution prevention. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.